Today we have a 1997 Dodge Ram 1500 pickup. This thing will turn over, but it won't start, and have determined that the fuel pump is not operating. So I'm going to show you how to lift up the rear truck bed so we can gain access to the fuel pump. First thing you need to do is get under the vehicle, and up near the front of the bed under the vehicle there's two bolts that are mounted to these brackets that are mounted to the frame, and these bolts are 15mm heads on them. You got to take these two bolts out on this side and then take the two bolts out on the other side, and then we'll move to the rear of the truck. After removing the front four bolts, move to the rear of the vehicle, and if there's a spare tire on the spare tire carrier, remove it at this time, because there are two 15mm headed bolts here. There's one here, and moving over to the other side, and there's one there. You take a socket extension, run it up through here, and take both of these bolts out. And then back here at the very back of the vehicle on the frame, there's two more 15mm bolts. One here and one over here on the opposite side. It's kind of hard to see. You might have to take a wrench or something to get in there to loosen these up. But these bolts don't need to come all the way out. Just loosen these up several rounds so that when we lift up on the front of the truck bed, it'll still be anchored at the rear of the vehicle, so that we can get in here and see what's going on with the fuel pump with the bed lifted. After you get all the bolts situated under the bottom of the truck, come over here to the fuel fill cap, and you'll see there's some torque screws in here. There's one here, and one over here. These are T25s, and I'm going to take these screws out so that this fill neck assembly will be disconnected from the bed before we lift it. You do not have to take these two right here off, because these two are actually for the door itself. After you get these three torque screws out, you'll see that this plastic housing in here is loose from the bed now. So now we can begin the process of lifting up the truck bed. I connected a shop crane to some straps going through the bed at the front, and I'm going to lift this bed up this way. If you don't have access to any of this kind of stuff, you can probably get a couple of good strong back friends to come help you lift this truck bed up, and then you can take some like 2x4s or 2x6s and set them up under it as a stand to hold it up. And at this time I'm going to lift this bed up. Now you can see that we have the bed up in the air. I'm going to get a couple of pieces of wood and stick under here to act as a stand. And then I'm going to go up under here and see what's going on with this fuel pump assembly. I have a 2x6 that I've mounted on the ground. It's cut off to go up under the bed, and this will keep this bed from coming down and crushing my head or the rest of me should this strap up here give way. After removing the wire from the fuel pump, I checked the voltage on the red wire, and it's getting a good 12.5 volts when the ignition is switched on. The black wire goes to a ground. I took an ohm meter and I checked the ground. The ground is sufficient. I then went directly to the fuel pump itself, and the red wire is all the way on the right, the black wire is on the left. So I took a jumper wire and jumped to the black wire ground, a good known ground, and I put a full 12 volts on the wire all the way to the right, which is where the red wire goes, and the pump is still not operating. So at this time we will have to remove and replace the fuel pump. Here I have the new fuel pump installed in the truck. One thing that I didn't mention before about taking it out, after you get your fuel line, your pressure line disconnected, your electrical, and your return, this big plastic ring that goes all the way around here, you have to turn this ring counterclockwise. If it's never been off, it's a little aggravating to get off because the threads will have dirt and stuff in them, but if you keep working with it, you will get it off. Then you can lift the pump assembly out. You change your gasket in the top of the tank with the new one. Put this nipple piece back in the top of the new pump. Slide it back down in, and then put this ring on before you hook up your fuel lines, your electrical line, and your return line. And then I just tighten this thing hand tight. And then I connected my fuel line. There's a plastic clip that you have to slide up on this nipple right here. It's real easy to do. Snaps this line in place, the pressure. Hook your electrical up. Lock this tab when you do that so that it'll stay connected to the pump. And then hook up your return line. And at that point you should be able to crank the engine up and check the operation of the pump. I've got the truck cranked up. It's running fine. So the installation of the fuel pump is done. So now all we have to do is take our board out right here, our safety board, and we'll let the bed back down. Make sure it stays lined up with the cab when you're letting it down, and then crawl up under there, and you should be able to put all of your bolts in under the bottom, and the bed will be bolted down, and you will be finished with this job. Thanks for watching.